I want to begin by telling you about a moment that cracked me open in the middle of an ordinary day. I was standing in my kitchen, staring at a half-eaten piece of toast and a sink full of dishes. My phone was buzzing, my mind was racing, and my chest was tight with that familiar feeling, like I was already behind in a race I never agreed to run. I whispered to myself, what else do I have to do? And then I heard this quiet voice, not loud, not dramatic, but clear. Inside me, it said, nothing, just stop, let go, do nothing for once, just be. And something inside me unraveled. I stood still. For the first time in what felt like weeks, I just breathed. This message is for anyone who's ever felt that pressure, anyone who's been trying to make life work, hustling, fixing, proving, earning, perfecting, and still, it feels like you're falling short. If this message resonates with your heart, take a moment to like, comment, and share it with someone who might need it too. And if you haven't already, subscribe. We're in this together. We live in a world that rewards motion, that claps for productivity, that bows down to busyness like it's some sacred badge of honor. From the moment we wake up, there's this invisible but deafening voice whispering, you should be doing more. We check our phones before we check in with ourselves. We jump into our day without asking what we actually need, and we wear exhaustion like it's a crown, as if being tired means we're being valuable. But let me tell you the truth no one wants to say out loud. We are drowning in the doing. Not because we're lazy, not because we don't care, but because we've been taught over and over again that rest equals weakness, that pause equals failure, that slowing down means falling behind. But we keep pushing, we keep forcing, we keep producing and pleasing and performing until one day we wake up and realize we don't know who we are without the hustle. We don't know what we feel because we haven't stopped long enough to ask. We've built lives so full of activity, but so empty of meaning. It's like we're on a treadmill that never stops, and even when we're tired, we're afraid to step off. Why? Because stepping off feels like failure. It feels like giving up. It feels like admitting we can't keep up, and in a culture obsessed with doing it all, that's the greatest fear, isn't it? But the truth is, that treadmill, it's not leading anywhere. It's just spinning in place, wearing you out. It's movement, not progress. It's noise, not alignment. It's distraction dressed up as purpose. And beneath all that frantic doing is often something tender, a deep fear, a soft longing, a quiet wound whispering, if I stop, will I still be enough? So we fill our time, we overcommit, we try to prove to ourselves, to others, to the world, that we have value, that we are worthy, that we matter. But I want to tell you something you might not have heard in a long time, maybe ever. You are not your productivity. You are not your resume, your follower count, your performance, or how many tasks you checked off today. You are allowed to exist without proving. You are allowed to rest without guilt. You are allowed to be, not just do. And no, that doesn't mean you stop caring. It doesn't mean you abandon your goals or your dreams or your work ethic. It means you stop tying your entire identity and self-worth to your ability to produce and perform. It means you stop believing that rest is something you have to earn. It means you give yourself permission to be a human being, not a human machine, because at the end of the day, no amount of hustle will heal what's hurting if your doing is disconnected from your being, if your effort is being driven by fear instead of love. Sometimes the real work, the hardest work, is learning to sit still with yourself without needing to rush into the next thing. Sometimes the greatest act of courage is not pushing through, but pausing long enough to ask, what am I really running from? Stillness. Just the word can feel unsettling, can't it? Like silence in a crowded room, like walking into a space where everyone else seems to be rushing, and you're the only one standing still. Stillness isn't celebrated in our culture. It's misunderstood, misjudged. People see it as weakness, as laziness, as giving up, as not trying hard enough. as falling behind. But here's the truth that goes against almost everything we've been conditioned to believe. Stillness is not stagnation. It's not about quitting. It's not about being stuck. It's not about apathy or avoidance or giving up on your dreams. Stillness is often the most courageous and necessary act of self-respect we can choose. Because stillness isn't about doing nothing. It's about choosing to listen. It's the brave decision to stop long enough to hear what your life, your body, your emotions, your spirit have been trying to say while you've been too busy to hear them. We live in constant noise. External noise from the world around us, emails, notifications, demands, and internal noise, anxiety, pressure, self-doubt, expectations. So much of our lives are spent reacting to that noise that we rarely pause to respond with intention. So we're taught to react to our anxiety signals. We think in terms of what we need to survive. We think in terms of what we need to survive. And we're taught to react to our suffering with intent. But when we finally allow ourselves to stop, really stop, that's when the truth begins to rise. Like dust settling in a sunbeam after you've stopped stirring the air. Everything that once felt clouded becomes clear. Not immediately, not all at once, but slowly, gradually, patiently. The answers that once felt so far away begin to reveal themselves, not because you chased them, but because you got quiet enough to receive them. It's kind of like when you're swimming in the ocean and get caught in a rip current. Instinct tells you to fight, to thrash and swim harder and harder against the pull. But what do the lifeguards say? They say don't fight it. They say float, stay calm, trust the current will carry you out of the chaos, and eventually you can swim back safely. That's what stillness is. It's floating instead of fighting. It's trusting the process instead of panicking in the unknown. It's believing that you don't have to force life to unfold, that life has a rhythm, a current, a wisdom all its own. We often confuse motion with purpose. We assume that if we're not visibly achieving, producing, or fixing something, we're wasting time. But some of the most important growth happens in stillness. Some of the most vital healing happens when we're not doing anything. So much so that we tend to think that the spiritual laws of the universe work through silence and quiet. Some of the most important growth happens in stillness. Some of the most vital healing happens when we're not doing anything. And so the signature of citizen really is built on the value of sitting on your own, without purpose, without moments. We are awaiting and inviting the spirit. Think about how a wound heals. You don't poke at it. You don't rip the bandage off every hour to see if it's better. You protect it. You give it rest. You let it breathe. And your soul is no different. Sometimes it doesn't need another strategy. It doesn't need another push. It needs space, silence, surrender. It needs to know it's safe to stop moving without the fear of losing everything. Stillness is where we remember who we are, beyond the noise, beyond the expectations, beyond the mask. It's where we meet our own reflection again, not the polished one we show the world, but the soft, raw, honest version of ourselves, the one who has always been there, waiting beneath all the doing. So if you've been feeling disconnected, if life feels heavy, loud, scattered, maybe it's time to stop asking, what should I do next? And instead ask, what would happen if I just paused? What would happen if you turned down the volume on the world and tuned into your own heartbeat? Stillness isn't the end. It's the beginning. It's not the enemy of progress. It's the birthplace of it. Because the truth is, only when we get still enough to see clearly can we move forward with purpose instead of panic, with presence instead of pressure, with alignment instead of exhaustion. Stillness isn't where we lose momentum, it's where we find direction. There's this illusion we carry that we always have to be in pursuit, that if we're not chasing something, we're falling behind, that if we're not one step ahead of the curve, life will forget us. And so we run. We run fast. We run hard. We run with everything we've got toward relationships, promotions, healing, happiness, success, hoping that if we just keep going, we'll finally arrive somewhere that makes all the striving feel worth it. But have you ever stopped and asked yourself, what am I really chasing? And why am I so afraid to stop running? Because underneath all the movement is usually something deeper. A fear that if we stop, everything will fall apart. That stillness means being left behind. That if we're not in control, life will pass us by. But the truth is, sometimes life is not asking you to chase it. Sometimes it's asking you to pause long enough to let it catch up to you. There's a story I heard once about a little girl walking too fast for her grandmother. She kept looking back, urging her to hurry. At one point, the grandmother simply smiled and said, "Baby, if you walk too fast, you'll miss the part where life meets you." That story stuck with me. Because isn't that what we do? We walk too fast through our own lives. We sprint ahead, eyes fixed on some distant milestone, missing the beauty that's already happening all around us. We're so busy trying to orchestrate the perfect life that we forget to actually live it. And when we're always chasing, we're rarely receiving. Think about that. When you're in constant pursuit, your hands are closed, clenched with effort, grasping, reaching. But receiving requires open hands. It requires surrender. And surrender, that takes courage. So much courage. Because surrender is terrifying when you've built your identity around control. It feels like standing on the edge of a cliff, arms wide open, trusting the wind to carry you. It feels like saying, I don't know what's next, but I'm not going to run from this moment anymore. I'm going to stand here, present, and let life unfold in its own time. Letting life catch you means believing that you don't have to be in constant motion to be in alignment, that you don't have to chase love, because real love will meet you when you're living in truth, that you don't have to chase validation because your worth is not up for negotiation, that you don't have to chase your dreams with panic because what's meant for you will never require you to lose yourself. But we don't get there by force. We get there by trust. And trust isn't about certainty. It's not a guarantee that everything will go as planned. Trust is a posture, a choice. It's saying, even if I don't know how this ends, I believe something beautiful can still grow here. That truth is not about having it, it's about trust, that we are always worth it and we are always whole. It's about trust. There's no posturing. There is no get up. There is no get up of certainty. There's no get up of it's sitting in the space between what was and what will be and choosing to believe that you are not forgotten, that life hasn't passed you by, that your story is still unfolding in sacred, unseen ways. I know it's scary. I know the silence can be deafening when you stop moving. I know the ache of waiting, the discomfort of not knowing. But I promise you, some of the most powerful, meaningful moments in life are born not from chasing, but from allowing. So today, leaving it all with God in life, above all with God in life, and maybe even bottom. This is us. Some of the most powerful, meaningful moments in life are born not from chasing, but from remaining forever. Allowing yourself to be held, to be supported, to be guided by something bigger than your fear. Allowing your path to reveal itself instead of trying to bulldoze your way through. Allowing yourself to believe that maybe, just maybe, you don't have to fight so hard to be worthy of what you long for. Letting life catch you doesn't mean giving up on your dreams. It means giving up the belief that you have to exhaust yourself to earn them. So breathe, soften, loosen the grip. Life is not a race to be won, it's a rhythm to be lived. And when you slow down enough to listen, really listen, you just might hear it whisper back, "I've been waiting for you to rest. You don't have to do this alone anymore." Let it catch you. Let it hold you. Let it remind you that you were never behind. You were just being gently pulled back, so something more aligned could meet you exactly where you are. Emotional rest is one of those things we don't talk about nearly enough, probably because we've become really good at pretending we don't need it. We talk about physical rest, we talk about sleep, maybe even vacation. But emotional rest? That's the kind of rest that goes deeper than a nap. It's the kind of rest we crave when our hearts are tired, not just our bodies. It's the rest we long for after weeks, months, maybe even years of holding everything together. It's the rest we long for after weeks, months, maybe even years of holding everything, of carrying the invisible weight of emotions we've never given ourselves permission to fully feel. Emotional rest is the space we create when we no longer force ourselves to be fine. When we stop emotionally editing our truth for the comfort of others. When we stop performing happiness. When we stop hiding our struggle behind small talk and overachievement. It's that quiet exhale that happens when we finally whisper to ourselves, "I'm tired." And that's okay. And it is okay. More than okay. It's necessary. Because emotional exhaustion is real. It happens when you've been holding back tears, biting your tongue, ignoring your needs, suppressing your truth, and showing up for everyone else while constantly abandoning yourself. It's like trying to run a marathon on an empty tank. You can keep going for a while, but eventually, something inside you breaks. And yet, so many of us keep pushing. We keep pouring from an empty cup, telling ourselves we'll rest once it's all done, once the project is finished, once the family is taken care of, once we're back on track. But what happens when that once never comes? What happens when we've wrapped our worth so tightly around being strong and reliable and emotionally invincible that we forget we're allowed to fall apart? That's what emotional rest gives back to us. Permission. Permission to be honest with ourselves, to admit that maybe we're not okay, and that not being okay doesn't mean we're broken. It just means we're human. There is power in that kind of vulnerability. There is healing in finally allowing yourself to stop pretending. Because the longer we suppress, the heavier it gets. Emotions don't disappear just because we don't express them. They simply go deeper, buried under layers of coping and control. But eventually, they surface. In burnout, in breakdowns, in bitterness, in ways that don't look like sadness but are rooted in it. Emotional rest asks us to stop running from our feelings and instead sit beside them, to let them speak, to trust that they are messengers, not enemies. Think of your emotions like children tugging at your sleeve. The longer you ignore them, the louder they get. But when you pause, turn toward them, kneel down and say, "I see you, I hear you, I'm listening," something shifts. The tension softens, the urgency quiets, the healing begins. And no, emotional rest doesn't mean wallowing. It doesn't mean drowning in your pain or staying stuck. It means giving yourself the space to acknowledge what you feel without rushing to fix it or dress it up in silver linings. It means allowing yourself to experience your full range of emotions without judgment. The grief, the anger, the fear, the disappointment, so that those feelings don't harden into shame. It means letting go of the pressure to be emotionally polished and instead becoming emotionally honest. Because authenticity is rest, not having to perform, not having to smile when you're aching, not having to pretend your heart doesn't hurt when it absolutely does. You deserve that kind of rest. The kind of rest where you don't have to carry the weight of being okay all the time. The kind of rest where someone, even if that someone is just you, looks at your tired eyes and says, "You don't have to be strong right now. You just have to be real. Emotional rest is the beginning of emotional resilience. You don't become stronger by pretending you're not tired. You become stronger by honoring that tiredness, giving it breath, giving it space, and allowing it to move through you, not define you. So if you feel heavy, not in your body, but in your soul, ask yourself, when was the last time I let myself truly rest emotionally? Not check out, not numb, but rest. Through gentleness, through grace, through honest connection with yourself. You don't have to earn it. You don't have to wait until you're falling apart to deserve it. You deserve rest simply because you're a human being with a heart that's been trying its best to keep beating in a loud, overwhelming world. So pause, breathe, let yourself be exactly as you are. That's where healing begins. That's where you come home to yourself again. There comes a point, sometimes slowly, sometimes all at once, when you realize that the more you chase something, the more it seems to run away. Whether it's love, success, clarity, peace, or healing, the harder you strive, the more elusive it becomes. It's like trying to grasp smoke with your bare hands. The tighter you clench, the faster it slips through your fingers. And we don't do this because we're broken or desperate. We do it because we've been taught that wanting something means we must go after it with everything we've got. Hustle harder, push more, sacrifice rest, joy, presence in the name of ambition, in the name of proving ourselves, in the name of earning what we believe we aren't inherently worthy of. But chasing, in its most exhausting form, often comes from fear. Fear that if we don't keep moving, life won't come to us. Fear that if we don't reach out and grab what we want, someone else will take it. Fear that if we stop trying, we'll be forgotten, overlooked, left behind. But here's the truth that no one really tells you when you're deep in the cycle. Chasing is not the same as aligning. Chasing says, I'm not enough unless I get this. Aligning says, I already am enough, and what matches me will find me. There's a big difference between pursuing something with passion and chasing it with panic. When you pursue, you move from groundedness, from inspiration, from intention. But when you chase, you move from anxiety, from lack, from a place of, if I don't force this, it'll never happen. And ironically, it's when we stop chasing that we start attracting. Not because we've given up, but because we've finally given in to trust, to self-worth, to a deeper knowing that says what's meant for me doesn't require me to betray myself to get it. When you stop chasing, you start becoming. You shift your energy from grasping to growing, from desperate action to embodied alignment. And suddenly things begin to flow. People begin to respond. Opportunities begin to open, not because you manipulated your way into them, but because your energy has shifted from need to truth. Think of it like this. When you're frantically running after a butterfly, it flies away. But when you sit still, calmly and fully present, the butterfly might land on your shoulder. It's not magic, it's magnetism. The more grounded you are in who you are, the more you attract what reflects that truth. But this isn't about pretending you don't want something. It's not about faking indifference. It's not about faking indifference. It's not about sitting back passively and hoping life delivers everything to your front door while you do nothing. It's about releasing the urgency that says you must earn what was always meant for you. It's about doing the inner work that shifts your energy from, I need this to complete me, to I trust that what belongs to me will recognize me when I'm living in alignment with myself. And that alignment doesn't come from pushing harder, it comes from tuning inward. It comes from healing the parts of you that believed you had to chase love to be lovable, that you had to hustle for your worth, that you had to bend, shrink, or overextend just to be chosen. When you stop chasing, you allow room for life to choose you back. You stop performing for people who were never your people to begin with. You stop over-explaining to those committed to misunderstanding you. You stop begging for doors to open that were never built for you to walk through. and you begin attracting people, experiences, and paths that meet you where you truly are, not where you're pretending to be. It's a quiet, powerful shift. It's not loud or dramatic. It's subtle. It's still. It's calm confidence that says, I no longer chase because I now trust that I am enough as I am. And what is meant for me will feel like peace, not pursuit. So if you're tired, if you're worn out from the endless chase, pause, return to yourself, nourish your wholeness, and let the world respond to your truth. Because in the end, the things that are truly meant for you won't ask you to chase them. They'll call to you, clearly and gently. And this time, you'll be ready. Not because you ran faster, but because you finally stood still. So here's your invitation, dear soul. For the next hour, or day, or weekend, release the urge to hustle. Be with yourself, not your to-do list, not your performance, just you. Let life catch up to you. Let grace find you. And remember, sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is nothing at all. And everything begins from there.